Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you've ever suffered from sciatica or pain that maybe runs from your back down into your legs, or you know of someone who's been through this before and you've seen how rough it can be, this video is going to be very valuable for you. If you're new to the channel, my name is Dr. Antonio with Loud Chiropractic and Coaching here in Lafayette, Colorado, and in Boulder County. On this channel, we help you explore ideas and strategies that help guide you to the adventurous life you were meant for. On today's show, we're going to show you 3 basic exercises that you can do to help combat sciatic pain. Let's move. So what we're going to do here in a minute, I'm going to show you just a little brief anatomy lesson here about where your sciatic nerve is and what some of the common misbeliefs that are associated with sciatic pain and how you can better approach it so that you can actually tackle it and deal with it once and for all. Now, what most people are asking for, like, what are the best stretches that I can do? What are the best physical therapy exercises that I can do for sciatic pain? What are the best stretches I can do for sciatic pain? Why do I only have pain on one side of my back and down into my hip? Why isn't it centralized? Why isn't it the same? Why did I just get this sudden onset of pain into my hip or something like that? And a lot of common reasons that we see quote unquote sciatica pain coming up is not necessarily all the way down the back of the leg, as most of us seem. Most of us might think, you might just be experiencing it right into your butt region or your hip region and a little bit down into your leg. And so there's some nuances there that are going to be very important for you to be able to determine what is the actual cause of the sciatic pain, okay? So again, we want to be able to help you provide relief. It's difficult to kind of ascertain and assess as to what your actual cause is, but this is going to be very beneficial for you because if it is sciatica, nerves are very sensitive and you don't want this to turn into something more that's going to create more symptoms, create more agitation, create some numbness, maybe some pain, tingling, all of those things that are no fun, that no one wants to experience. Okay. All right. So here we have a couple different things that I want to point out. So we can see the sciatic nerve here. It's this big, long nerve. It's very thick. It goes from the front side of the pelvis where the lumbar nerve roots come. It goes through the pelvis and then runs down the back side. Now, keep in mind, what you don't see are all these tiny little nerves that will be coming off that will be supplying function and sensory components to the glute muscle. So if we slowly add some of these muscle layers on, you can see we have the deeper levels of the glute. This is the piriformis, which oftentimes gets blamed for sciatica symptoms, which we believe it to be not as important as other issues. Deeper layers again, and then again you have your glutes that cover that. So a lot of times this pain in the hip right here is a sign of a pinched nerve, and it feels like a pinched nerve, not because a muscle is pinching on it, but more or less something in the back is causing a pinched nerve, and that's you're getting symptoms that are referred down into the leg. Now, yes, you can get sciatic symptoms that are all the way down past the knee into the foot and into the lower extremity. That does happen from time to time, but more commonly we see this happen in the hip. But keep in mind these exercises do apply for that same thing. But if we zoom in here, what I want you to take note of, let me move this up a little bit more. As we zoom in, what I want you to take note of is the lower back structure. So we're going to be removing some of these muscles here. Now, when we're looking at the lower back here, in between, so you see all the lumbar vertebrae, in between you have the discs. And in between the discs, you can see it's the exact same level that you have the nerve roots coming and exiting out of the spinal column. Those nerve roots then come down together and create that sciatic nerve, which we pointed out on both sides. So what you can actually see is that a pinched nerve can actually happen up here, and in our opinion happens a lot more frequently than the classic piriformis syndrome that gets blamed. Now, the reason why this is important are the exercises that we're going to be giving you are more specific to the lower back. And we need to understand that, and so that you can create the understanding and awareness as to why we're giving them and why these particular 3 exercises are going to be so beneficial for you if you are experiencing, again, those sciatic symptoms. So again, what we're highlighting is that this is going to be more of the issue and the focus that we're going to be taking. That's going to help with symptoms down in here. We're not going to attack this area. Now, there are methods and strategies that can help alleviate symptoms, but we're talking about fixing. We're not talking about just alleviating. Alleviating is putting a Band-Aid on it. What we're looking to do is actually find where the nerve is pinched so that you can find and create the solutions that you actually need. Okay, so that's critical and very important when we're talking about this. Now again, why do we bring this up? Sciatic pain is a very common diagnosis and even more commonly misdiagnosed as it used as a general kind of region. We're talking about like down the leg. That's very open for interpretation, but we want to be a little bit more specific with our diagnosis so that you can be very time efficient with the exercises that you're doing. If you have a blanket diagnosis, you can take a blanket approach and you're just throwing stuff on the wall hoping something's going to stick. Now, because it's oftentimes assumed as a pinched nerve, we would just kind of assume that the site of the pain is where the actual pinched nerve is. But keep in mind those tender points that you're feeling in the glutes and down to the leg might just be a symptom of the pinched nerve that's up higher and the symptoms that are manifesting down into the muscles that are supplied by those specific nerves. So this is important. This is very important because we want you to be efficient with your rehab and your home care and your exercises. So many people are just rolling out and stretching and not getting the relief that they need or that they want and deserve because they're being coached and instructed wrong. They don't know that it's actually coming from their back. They think it's coming from their hip or their piriformis or their hamstring or something like that, and they're stretching and sometimes actually making things worse because we don't know. Now, we're not going to be using this video to dive into the specifics on how you can figure out if it is coming from your back. But if you start to pay attention a little bit more about when your symptoms in your leg increase, I have a feeling that you're going to also find that your lower back pain symptoms, tension, or whatever that might be, might also be increasing, which would be highly indicative that that it's starting from the back and not necessarily the leg. Okay, more times than not, when symptoms are referring or moving out, they typically are kind of going away from the spine or moving down. It's probably not likely that a pinched nerve in your hamstring is going to be causing lower back pain or tightness. Okay, so take that into consideration. Now we're going to transition, and you're going to see the exercises. Again, we have the top 3 here that we provide and recommend if you have these sciatic symptoms. I hope you enjoy. They're going to be super helpful for you. Okay. All right, so our first exercise that we love to give for those that are having sciatic pain and hip pain associated with lower back pain, these are door squats. The reason why door squats are so beneficial is it allows you to offload the lower back and the hips so that you can continue to move them and not overload them where they feel like they're getting tighter and tighter. Now, again, when we're talking about these 3 exercises, they should not be increasing your pain. Your pain should not be going further and further down the leg. If anything, it should be coming up, and you should be feeling relieved and relaxed afterwards. If you finish the exercise and you're limping or hobbling or increasing pain, we either need to tweak how we're doing it, it was not the right exercise, and we also might need to eliminate it. So the door squat is you're gonna have an open door. You're gonna put one hand on each side, and I'm basically just hooking the handles. I'm in a nice wide stance that allows me to maximize my hip range of motion and not flex my lower back. I'm going to lean back like I'm water skiing so that my hands take a lot of the slack and the weight off, and I'm trying to keep my spine nice and tall. So I am using my legs to come up, but I'm more or less using my hands to help guide me down, and then I use legs, hips, and quads, as well as arms a little bit if needed to come up. So again, I'm not hunched around forward. I'm not leaning all the way back like this. I'm still trying to perform my squat as best as possible. I'm just hooking the door ever so slightly to help keep me upright so that I can perform the door squat. So the next exercise is going to be one of the more beneficial ones for you. These are quadruped hip drops. Now, oftentimes sciatica pain, pinched nerves, especially when we're talking about having an association with our lower back, it's exacerbated by flexion. The next exercise we'll talk about how we manage flexion, especially in the world that we live in where we're standing and moving around a lot. But this is to help alleviate all the tension in the lower back, part of the guarding that's associated with the pinched nerve, but also help reduce if there is a disc bulge or herniation or something else pushing on that nerve that's creating the pain down the leg. It's going to help reduce a lot of pressure off of that nerve. Okay, so the next one, so we're going to be on our hands and knees here. Okay, my hands are slightly in front of my shoulders. From here, I'm going to shift my weight forward and gently just let my hips sag to the ground. Now, this is the end motion of the McKenzie press up, which some of you may or may not know already. I have found that for a lot of people who are having that more of an acute pain, that this can be very challenging. So this top-down approach tends to be a little bit easier for most people to manage. Again, I'm not pushing my hips down. I'm simply letting gravity guide me down as my arms prop me up in kind of like a kickstand motion here. So adding a couple reps, it looks like this as I go back and forth, so on and so forth, okay? So again, these are similar to a McKenzie extensions, which are one of your more common exercises for sciatica, but we're gonna refer to these as the quadruped hip drops. Now, the last demo is pretty straightforward. In order to get better and reduce your symptoms, you gotta stop doing all of the things that irritate and piss off the sciatic symptoms. Now, this is especially critical because nerves are very sensitive. The moment you put pressure on it or you start irritating it, they become highly sensitized, and it doesn't take much pressure or irritation to further or prolong your symptoms. So being mindful of the things that you're doing around the house every day is going to be really beneficial. And for a lot of people, again, as we had mentioned, it's a lot of flexion. When I flex over, I put more tension on the sciatic nerve as it is, as well as more pressure in the lower back or anything else that might be pushing on one of those nerves and creating that pinch. So what we're going to practice is just a simple hip hinge movement. A hip hinge movement is me simply just bending and folding at my hips. In doing so, I'm able to maintain a lumbar spine or a straight long spine, and so that the load goes into my hamstrings and my legs. My lower back is still working, but it's not taking the brunt of the pressure of the force as it would here, which would obviously create more pressure on a nerve if it is getting pinched. From a front stance, it's going to look like this. Right, so the hips simply go back and forth. You can see a wider stance can be very beneficial, especially if you're someone like myself who's got long limbs. It brings us closer down to the ground, so if I'm picking something up, I can get more into a position such as this, where I'm hinging and folding, but I'm using my hips and my knees and not my lower back. And that is one of the most critical things when dealing with sciatic pain, or really any form of pain, is you gotta stop doing all the things that piss it off and irritate it, so you can let it calm down and snowball and progress in a feed-forward mechanism rather than a negative feedback. All right, so we just went over the 3 top exercises, right, for sciatic symptoms. Now, these are critical. These are so helpful. They're so powerful. We oftentimes forget how and why they're so, and what makes them so potent. But if you take them step by step, inch by inch, and you might actually find out of the 3, you're a lot more, you find more relief out of one or the other. Jump on that one. It doesn't have to mean that you have to do all these 3 equally. We give you the top 3 because there's probably going to be one that works best for you, and that's the one that you want to rinse and repeat so that you can do it over and over and find the most benefit from those. Okay, now it takes application. It's not like you just do 1 set of 20 and you're healed. If we're assuming there's an issue that's causing this, it's going to take repetition. We oftentimes recommend multiple times throughout the day, where you might be doing some of these once an hour, depending on what the severity is, right? But if it's not creating benefit, then you also have to realize that you need to seek external help to dive a little bit deeper into figuring out what might be for you. Now, we're going to leave with this. Please share this. So many people are doing this wrong because they don't know what's actually causing their sciatic symptoms, and they're just smashing and rolling away. They're getting massages all the time, dry needling, and they're hitting the wrong areas. They're chasing down the symptoms and not what's actually pinching the nerve and creating the sciatic symptoms down the leg. So all I ask is that you share this. Share this with a family member, share this with a loved one, share this with someone at your gym, share this with someone you know that is suffering with this, and I hope that it brings you or them as much relief and benefit that it's brought myself and our patients and our clients here at Live Loud. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you want more videos that relate to pain reduction and helpful ways that you can reduce pain and injuries in yourself, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and also check out our playlist that will help describe and show you more of those videos. Until next time, guys, live loud.